Now, the world governing body of elite swimming has banned transgender athletes from competing in women's events if they've gone through any part of male puberty. Joining us is Stephanie Davies-Arai, founder and director of the organisation Transgender Trend. Lots to talk to you about. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the programme this morning. Should we just start with that, see what your view is, that we're hearing that the governing body for swimming says that transgender women will not be allowed to take part in sports with other women?
Yeah, which is absolutely right and a sensible decision. Why males were allowed into the female category in sport to begin with is, it was a wrong decision. I mean, why did that happen? There are categories for a purpose, and male-female is a really important category. You can't self-identify into any other category. You can't get into the Paralympics by self-identifying as disabled. Weight categories. These are really important for fairness for sport. Inclusion is important, but the right decision I think that FINA has made is to protect the female category for fairness and for safety, and to have an open category where transgender people can compete. So both of those objectives are met by that policy.
But there's only a tiny percentage of transgender people who have become transgender in the world at the moment, and a lot of those are not professional athletes. So, does that not then bar them from taking part?
Not if there's an open category, which makes it fair. And you have to remember that every time...
How many people will actually take part in that open category?
Well, the open category can be male, female, transgender, so it's open to everybody.
Okay. And you think that would solve the problem, the issue?
I think it meets both requirements for inclusion, which I do think is important, and I support that, absolutely, that transgender people should be able to take part in sport. I think sport's really important, but it can't be at the expense of women and fairness in women's sport. That's not fair.
OK. Now, you've recently got a BEM, haven't you?
Yes.
British Empire Medal. Tell me about that.
Yes, that came, but that was a great honour, and it came for my work as Director of Transgender Trend for Services to Children. So it was out of the blue, and I felt it was vindication of my work, for which I've been called transphobic and a bigot for many years. But it was an acknowledgement that my work, and all of my work, has been for the protection and safeguarding of children, the welfare of children. So I'm really thrilled to have had that recognition.
Why does your work cause such angst among some groups?
Because it challenges the idea that children are being medically transitioned. And in fact, I don't challenge the idea of transgender people. What I do challenge is the ideology behind it. It's that children are being taught that they're a boy or a girl based on really regressive stereotypes rather than their biological sex. I think it's doing... The theory of gender identity is doing great harm to children, and it leads, once a child identifies themselves as transgender, then the medical pathway is experimental. It's essentially chemical castration of children, or, teenage girls are being encouraged to have their breasts cut off if they identify as transgender or non-binary. So this idea that your body has to match your personality based on these really regressive stereotypes, which we should have left well behind.
But should we not be allowing children, i.e. under the age of 18, to decide what sex they are?
It's not a decision. What sex you are is immutable. It is just the reality. So to suggest to children that it's an identity, that it can be changed, I think this is the big lie that's being told to children, and it's being taught in schools now, and it's being, it's all over the internet, that you can choose whether you're male or female, and the reality is that you can't. And any treatment for children must be based on reality, and because children really believe that they can medically transition from boy to girl or girl to boy.
They can, though, can't they?
No, no. Whatever hormones or whatever surgery you have, if you're born female, you will be female to the end of your days, and the same if you're male. You can't change sex. Medically you can't change. But children really believe that they will go through the puberty of the opposite sex if they take puberty blockers followed by cross-sex hormones. They won't. They won't go through puberty. They will get a dose of the wrong sex hormones, which will produce secondary sex or the cosmetic appearance of secondary sex characteristics, but they won't go through the opposite sex puberty. You can't change sex. So I think the treatment is based on a false premise, and children are being misled into that belief.
But what about children who feel that they were born into the wrong body and they feel that they need to become the opposite sex?
Yeah, well, this is called gender dysphoria, and in the past it was treated by a method called watchful waiting, which may involve some therapy, but essentially children were left alone to develop, and most of them grew out of it. And in fact, the most common outcome in adulthood was being gay or lesbian. And now we're affirming children. If a girl says she's a boy, we say, yes, you're a boy. And that has led to, I think, a huge rise in children being referred to the Tavistock Clinic, and a completely new group of children, teenage girls. So online, children are being encouraged to believe that normal adolescent anxieties and worries and feeling left out, feeling different, is indication that they are transgender, they were born in the wrong body. So that is, to me, that's a really negative message to give to, say, a teenage girl who hates her body, self-rejection, self-hatred, feels she doesn't meet really high standards of female beauty these days. And you're saying to her, you're right, you're not a proper girl, you were born in the wrong body and you need medical fixing. Actually, we should be supporting teenagers to navigate those, sometimes really tricky and distressing feelings that they have and confusions that they have during puberty, and helping them build resilience and helping them accept themselves, and to say, yes, no, you're quite okay as you are. Girls don't have to meet these standards.
So what if we do that and we support these kids through puberty and they still feel that they want to change gender? At what age would that be appropriate?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think, the brain doesn't finish its full development until the mid-20s. And in my view, you're making a decision that for treatment that is irreversible. So you have really significant health issues, for example. The treatment may lead to infertility, it may lead to loss of sexual function in adulthood, and all of the consequent sort of impacts on your romantic and sexual life. Plus there's health risks that there's bone density is another issue, brain development, cognitive development. There are big risks of health that we know about, and also ones that we don't yet know about because this is so new. So I think it's an adult decision. I don't think the teenage brain, which is still developing, is able to fully calculate the risks and benefits and make a really, based on reality, based on evidence kind of decision that, yes, OK, I am prepared to take all those risks in my life. I don't think you can do that when you're young and your identity is still developing and your thoughts and your brain is still developing.
Sure. Absolutely fascinating. Sadly, we're out of time, but I wondered if you would indulge us perhaps coming back soon to talk to someone who has the opposite view.
Yes, I'd love to.
It'd be fascinating to hear the debate between the two of you. It's great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Absolutely fascinating. Thank you. Hopefully we'll be able to facilitate that before too long. Do stay tuned.